That you want to...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, maybe I can help expedite the time in which I'm talking about. A lot of folks are here. I'd like to ask for a straw vote for the continuance. That way folks know where we're going with this whole thing. That way it doesn't have to take up a lot of their time if they know that we're going to continue this item. I know that it's still a noticed hearing. Folks still have an opportunity to speak if they wish, but I think it would save a lot of time if folks knew that we were actually, the board was going to go in that direction. So I'm going to ask.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think there's really, based on the conversation this morning, that we will continue the item. And you know, there were some issues raised, and so straw vote, I think we to continue it. You want to have a conversation as to supervisor. Maybe that'll happen someday, Mr. Giffen. Kind of Director Giffen, his suggestion is that we would have an opportunity in February. Typically, we have a board strategic planning session in February. We have 2 or 3 during the year. That's when it would first come back for additional discussion on how we might proceed, or we could come back later in the year, in the summer or fall, again during strategic planning, to see how it lines up with our other planning priorities. So you want to speak to that, Supervisor Meacham and then Supervisor Gibson?
Kind of in addition to that, I know that we received a letter from the folks from ALAB, or Agricultural Liaison Board, that they really haven't been able to chance to vet this, the final draft of this. So I think they're key to a lot of our discussion as well in the agricultural industry. And I want to just address one quick thing about, from an agricultural standpoint. I understand the necessity to try to preserve agriculture, and I think it's one of our most important economies. But we need to find better ways to incentivize that so that they can stay in business. And I think maybe revising this tool, maybe revising this can help them do that. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to accomplish. Not taking away something, but trying to incentivize them in the proper way. So.
Okay, yeah, and that's fine. That's why this ordinance was originally crafted, and that was the intent. Unfortunately, it's become more of a development tool than an ag land preservation tool, and that's why we're addressing the issues. And when I sum up my comments, I will speak specifically to what our Ag Liaison Advisory Board recommended, and a lot of if not all of the issues that have been addressed through this process are recommendations from what we call ALAB, our Ag Liaison Advisory Board. So they had extensive discussion on this, and they are a broad representation of the agricultural community. And so I want to make sure that you are aware of the issues that our ag community feels need to be addressed with this particular ordinance. And Supervisor Teixeira, I see that you want to have another comment, and I would like to move this along. Excuse me one second, Paul, if you will, please. For those of you on staff who came to speak to consent items or be here in the event we had questions about consent, we'll take a break. When we finish this item, we'll have our presentation. Again, Mr. Zelke, I apologize for the delay here in making that presentation. And that'll give staff time to go away and then come back. You don't have to sit here during our discussion. So I wanted to let you all know that we'll take a break before we go into consent. Mr. Teixeira.
Thank you, Chairman Patterson. And the only thing that I would add to this conversation for planning staff is, if we do have it at strategic planning in February, this is a prime time to start our new noticing. And if it works or it doesn't work, people can let us know at that time. And as we go through this process and fine-tune the amendments or recommendations to the Ag Cluster Ordinance, we get better at notifying people and doing the notification, whether it's newspaper, email, however we do it. And I think this is going to be a learning curve for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Teixeira. Supervisor Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, from where I sit, I get the sense of where this is going. And over the times that I've participated in discussions on this issue, I think colleagues understand my concerns regarding the existing ordinance, the potential for an ordinance. And so in, while I guess I'm a little disappointed that a lot of staff work has sort of come to a point where we need to drop back. That happens sometimes. And speaking to Mr. Hill's sense of collegiality about it and about the possibility to move forward in a thoughtful way, and based on the good faith intentions that I hear from my colleagues, I can support the continuance that appears to be the interest of the majority of the board. And I think I certainly will come to that discussion with my own good faith sense of what I think is in the best interest of this county and its rural lands, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Absolutely, and thank you, Supervisor Gibson. And I think what a lot of people we've heard from over the course of the board's dialogue about this issue, a lot of people were really caught off guard, if you will. They weren't aware of the process. This process has been going on for 2.5 to 3 years. And I will speak to the noticing and opportunities for public engagement along the way, because there have been many. And apparently a lot of you aren't aware of those. And so we need to talk about the process a little bit and how we move all of these issues through the governmental process. And it starts at the community level, and I'll just quickly run through about a half a dozen ways and a half a dozen or more opportunities to engage in the dialogue about any of these general plan amendments and the ordinances that we go through. And I want to make sure that we're clear on that. And again, I want to speak to what got us here and why we're here. I think that's important to have clarity on that. Mr. Buckshot.
Yeah, good morning. I just wanted to offer a couple of clarification points regarding process and where we go from here. I think your board has been fairly clear on the points that you have concerns about and like to see addressed, and obviously if there's anything more from the public or any other additional points, but I think staff has ample direction for now on what the key issues are. With respect to February, what we have planned is a strategic planning session where what is targeted is to revisit planning's priorities. We were going to be doing that anyway. And then second, we have an overall budget update. Part of the reason we revisit planning's priorities is so that we know how to help craft the budget for the proposed budget. I do want to clarify, the intention would be that that would not be a noticed hearing. It would essentially be a study session. So I think we can take the information from today, do some homework, come back with some options and discussion points, and receive further input from your board and the public to then to craft a more detailed plan at that point.
Right, exactly, and I think that's what Mr. Giffen was implying, is that our board, again with public input, would be crafting the priorities for planning and where this issue falls among the long list of other tasks that the planning department is working on. So that's the conversation we'll have in February. Thank you, Mr. Buckshire, for that clarification. So now what I'm going to do is move into public comment on this item, and it's clear in our straw vote that the intention of this board is to continue it and have further dialogue and public outreach on the issues that Mr. Giffen has identified. So I will start by calling the names of the folks that were here at the November hearing and were not, well, they deferred their opportunity to speak in public comment to today. And I want to call them up first. And you can speak to supporting the continuance or not, or to specific issues that may not have been raised, or support issues that you agree with, that you want us to follow up on. So let me start again with the folks that were here in November. Please come forward when I call your name. And what I think the folks that were here in November were in the 3-minute category. And so I'm going to allow you to speak 3 minutes because that's what you thought you were agreeing to when you postponed your comments to today. And again, I have 20 folks on this list, and now about 30 on the list of folks presenting request to speak forms today. I'm going to, after we get through the 3-minute list, I'm going to go to a 1, 2, 3 opportunity so you can speak faster if you need to, but we'll handle it that way. Let me start with Susie Anderson. Are you here, Susie?
Yes.
And some of you may not, but I do want to call these names. Carol Richardson, are you here this morning, Carol? Oh,